Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Wild Women of Song, Great Gal Composers of the Jazz Era. My name is Pamela Rose. It's time that we celebrated Dana Suesse. Dana Suesse was such an accomplished classical composer and popular song composer, and a very canny young woman. It is kind of extraordinary that we have forgotten about her, because she really was celebrated during her day. She was born in Kansas City in 1909. By the time she was 5, she really was a child prodigy. She was such a skilled pianist and understood classical music so well that pretty soon she was invited to take part in some local vaudeville productions as they came through. By the time she was about 9 years old, she had an act that was quite remarked upon, where she would play classical pieces and her extraordinary dexterity and ability would shine. And then she would ask the audience for suggestions on a theme. And the audience would, suggest themes and, like Sunshine or Heartbreak or whatever that was. And then she would spontaneously compose a piece based on that theme, making her, as my daughter Emma once remarked, a regular little vaudeville Mozart. So, already a big success in Kansas City, her mother, whom she really loved and leaned on for advice during her career, and who really supported her career, allowed her to come to New York City to study with Alexander Salotti, one of Franz Liszt's 4 remaining pupils, and was really a highly sought-after teacher. She also took lessons with Reuben Goldmark, who was one of Gershwin's teachers. So there she is in New York City in 1926, which was a really exciting time to be in New York City. And she started publishing music. I think she was 17 at the time. She had Jazz Nocturne, Syncopated Love Song. These were really highly regarded classical pieces. And they were published. This was an era where sheet music publishing was everything, and graced many a piano bench and performed by small orchestras and definitely in parlor rooms all across the country. She was already a success. And this is where Dana Suesse's brilliance would come out, because she hit upon the idea to also try her hand at popular songwriting. So she teamed up with a few different lyricists and pulled out sections from these already published pieces. In one great radio interview, she says that she was one of the songwriters that actually stole from herself. So from Syncopated Love Song, she wrote a song called Have You Forgotten? Big success. From her Jazz Nocturne, she pulled out the middle piece and teamed up with a man who she wrote many popular songs with, Edward Heyman, and wrote the beautiful song My Silent Love, making her perhaps one of the first deliberate crossover artists. So then came a very interesting time in the history of popular music, because the great band leader Paul Whiteman had just hit upon the idea of trying to combine these classical music aficionados with this popular music, this jazz that was sweeping the nation. And he very famously approached George Gershwin to compose a piece. George Gershwin, who was a popular songwriter, had written Swanee and some other songs like that, and asked him if he could come up with a piece for one of these concerts at Carnegie Hall. And George Gershwin did, and we have, of course, Rhapsody in Blue, which changed George Gershwin's career, changed the idea people had about taking jazz more seriously as a true American art form. So flush with that success, Paul Whiteman goes to Dana Suesse, and he asked her to come up with something as well that he could present as, one of these adventures in new music. And he did, and she performed and composed pieces for Carnegie Hall. And in fact, they used to call her the Girl Gershwin. We know a lot about her because of the efforts of Peter Mintun. Peter Mintun, who himself is a phenomenal pianist and music historian, especially of the music of the 1920s and 1930s, made it a point to reach out to her. He reached out to her through some songwriters guild and did get in touch with her Dana Suesse invited Peter to come visit them in their home in Connecticut. And she must have been very charmed that this young man knew so much about her work. But they played music together and talked about music for a few days running. She wrote to Peter right after that, she and her husband, and said that they had been so inspired by the fact that she had not been forgotten that they decided to try to revive her career. And indeed, they produced yet another show at Carnegie Hall, which she did in the 70s, to quite a bit of acclaim. When she passed away, she put Peter Mintun in charge of all of her records and her photographs and her papers, and in fact gave him the beautiful Steinway that sits in his home in New York as well. I do want to let our watchers and listeners know that Dover Publications is coming out with a folio of all of her works, her compositions, her popular songs, and Peter Mintun also wrote the introductory notes and provided the background information. That's very exciting for us Dana Suesse fans. My favorite song of hers is My Silent Love. I love the Billy Eckstine version of it. I think it's just gorgeous. There's this soaring, yearning quality to the melody that just fits so perfectly with that lyric. I really recommend you give it a listen and tune in every Wednesday to these Wild Women Wednesdays on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. See you next time.